Hi guys, this is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. Karibuni sana. Today we are going to be covering 1 Kings chapter 12. In chapter 11 we saw that King Solomon married many wives. They turned his heart away from God and he started worshipping idol gods. He built shrines for idol gods, so God raised enemies against him, and he said that he would take away the kingdom from his son. Rather, he would tear away the kingdom of Israel from his son and divide it into two different nations, rather two different kingdoms. In the last chapter as well, Solomon has died and has already been buried, and his son Rehoboam has become king. Rather, he's the one who's going to be the next king. All right, so let's read. Again, if you're here for the very first time, please remember to subscribe, to hit the notification bell, and most importantly, to share this content with someone else as well. All right, let's read. Rehoboam, please note, in this chapter, you're going to read about Rehoboam and another guy called Jeroboam. Rehoboam is the son of Solomon. Jeroboam was the official of Solomon. Like alikuwa servant wa Solomon. All right, let's read. Rehoboam went to Shechem, where all the Israel had gathered to make him king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard about this, he returned from Egypt, for he had fled to Egypt to escape from King Solomon. The leaders of Israel summoned him and Jeroboam and the whole assembly. The leaders of Israel summoned him, and Jeroboam and the whole assembly of Israel went to speak to Rehoboam. Your father was a hard master, they said. Lighten the harsh labor demands and heavy taxes that your father imposed on us. Then we will be your loyal subjects. Let's pause there. So one of the things that I want to just capture is that the fact that as much as Solomon was a great leader, he imposed heavy taxes on the Israelites. So yes, they were wealthy, but they were wealthy through their own taxes. Like really, they paid heavy taxes. So Jeroboam and other people have come to ask Rehoboam, please reduce the lights of the taxes. Please reduce the labor forces. Like reduce the things that you need from us. And then we are going to be your loyal subjects. Rehoboam replied, give me 3 days to think over this, then come back for my answer. So the people went away. The king Rehoboam discussed the matter with older men who had counseled his father Solomon. What's your advice? He asked. How should I answer these people? The older council replied, if you are willing to be a servant to these people today and give them a favorable answer, they will be your loyal subjects. But Rehoboam rejected the advice of the older men and instead asked of the opinion of the younger men who had grown up with him and were now his advisors. Very bad move. What is your advice? He asked them. How should I answer these people who want me to lighten the burdens imposed by my father? The young men replied, this is what you should tell those complainers who want a lighter burden. My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. Yes, my father laid heavy burdens on you, but I am going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with scorpions. Okay. 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to hear Rehoboam's decision, just as the king had ordered. But Rehoboam spoke harshly to the people, and he rejected the advice of the older council and followed the counsel of his younger advisors. He told the people, my father laid heavy burdens on you, but I'm going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I'm going to beat you with scorpions. So the king paid no attention to the people. This turn of event was the will of the Lord, for it fulfilled the Lord's message to Jeroboam, son of Nebat, through the prophet Ahijah from Shiloh. When the Israelites realized that the king had refused to listen to them, they responded, down with the dynasty of David. We have no interest in the son of Jesse. Back to our homes, O Israel. Look out for your own house, O David. So the people of Israel returned home, but Rehoboam continued to rule over the Israelites who lived in the town of Judah. So at this point, the other tribes are just like, imagine, you don't have to be our king. Kwenda huko. Na sisi tumeenda na huku. So the only tribe that King Rehoboam remained with is a tribe of Judah. Then all the others decided they don't want the dynasty of David to continue being their king. So King Rehoboam sent Adoniram, who was in charge of the forced labor, to restore order. But the people of Israel stoned him to death. When the news reached King Rehoboam, he quickly jumped onto his chariot and fled to Jerusalem. And to this day, the northern tribes of Israel have refused to be ruled by a descendant of David. When the people of Israel learned of Jeroboam's return from Egypt, they called an assembly and made him king over all Israel. So only the tribe of Judah remained loyal to the family of David. That is basically how the kingdom was torn into two, but it was basically the will of God. All right, verse 21. When Rehoboam arrived at Jerusalem, he mobilized the men of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 select troops to fight against the men of Israel and to restore the kingdom to himself. But God said to Shemaiah, the man of God, say to Rehoboam, son of Jerusalem, king of Judah, and to all the people of Judah and Benjamin, and to the rest of the people, this is what the Lord says. Do not fight against your relatives, the Israelites. Go back home, for what has happened is my doing. So they obeyed the message of the Lord and went home, and as the Lord had commanded. Jeroboam then built the city of Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and it became his capital. Later, he went and built up the town of Peniel. Jeroboam thought to himself, unless I am careful, the kingdom will return to the dynasty of David. When these people go to Jerusalem to offer sacrifices at the temple of the Lord, they will again give the allegiances to the king Rehoboam of Judah. They will kill me and make him their king instead. All right, so let's pause there. So you guys know that the temple was built in Jerusalem, and the Israelites had to travel to Jerusalem to offer sacrifices for the yearly festivals. They had to actually travel all the way to Jerusalem for that. So Jeroboam was like, now that I have been given these 11 tribes, now every time they keep going to Jerusalem, they might just go back and decide to give their loyalties to the house of David, or rather to Rehoboam. So what does he do? Let's see what he does. Verse 28. So on the advice of his councils, the king made 2 gold calves. This thing has started going south. He said to the people, it is too much trouble for you to worship in Jerusalem. Look, Israel, these are the gods who brought you out of Egypt. Like he's saying the gold calves that he's made are the gods that brought them out of Egypt. Surely. He placed these calf idols in Bethel and in Dan, at either end of his kingdom. But this became a great sin. For the people worshipped idols, traveling as far north as Dan to worship one of these idols. Jeroboam also elected buildings at the pagan shrines, ordained priests from the common people, those who were not from the priestly tribe of Levi. And Jeroboam instituted a religious festival in Bethel, held on the 15th day of the 8th month, an imitation of the annual festival of shelters in Judah. There at Bethel, he himself offered sacrifices to the calf that he made, and he appointed priests for the pagan shrines that he had made. So on the 15th day of the 8th month, a day that he himself had designated, Jeroboam offered sacrifices on the altar of Bethel. He instituted a religious festival for Israel, and he went up to the altar to burn incense. this guy. First, God tells you, I'm going to give you 11 nations for you to rule over, but you have to follow my decrees. But now his council has told him, badala ya watu washindange wakienda Jerusalem kuworship at the temple, why don't we just build them idol gods here, and then they'll not go there. That way they will not go and go back to the kingdom. First, I'm like, you didn't give yourself these kingdoms. Like in this you didn't give yourself the throne. God practically handed it over to you. So at what point do you think you're going to sustain it yourself? So umejiambia, God amekupatia a whole throne. He has made you king through his own doing. But now you have decided not to maintain this. I have to now make sure that these guys never go to Jerusalem. Hey, big mistake. Big mistake, you guys. Me, I'm even upset. I'm upset from this chapter. First, there's this other guy called Jeroboam, the son of Solomon. Instead of listening to the counsel of the elder people, he's listening to the counsel of his peers. As in, this whole chapter has only one lesson. Wrong counsel. Wrong counsel. As in, seriously, who are you seeking counsel from? Who are you seeking your advice from? Are you receiving great advice? And are you following the great advice that you're receiving? Ama you're rejecting it and going to get the bad advice? And also, when God gives you something, how about you just trust him to sustain it for you? You just do what God has asked you to do. Hizi vitu zingine wachana nazo. God will, if he gives you something, he will sustain it for you. Anyway, kabla nikasirike. This is your girl Wakeji Kamore, and this has been Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. See you tomorrow.